The server properties pane, so if you just click on the instance in the Object Explorer, on the General tab there's quite a bit more information at the bottom to do with the amount of memory on the platform that Infomix is running on and the amount of shared memory Infomix is using and how much of each is free and the number of CPUs. It'll be using onstat-g OSI to get that information, which was put into later versions of IDS, which gets operating system information in a unified way into IDS regardless of what operating system it's running on, which makes this possible for Server Studio. We then also got a new recovery logs node within storage, so we can look at the logical logs. There's a list of all of them and the state they're in, not too many on this demo instance, and a graphic to show the usage. Same with the physical log. Checkpoints log is showing us the last 20 checkpoints, so that's the output of onstat-g CKP. So what triggered the checkpoint, how long it took, if it was blocking, all of that information. And then access and configuration of related onConfig parameters. Next we're going to look at a new feature of Sentinel. Before I do that, a bit of historical context. That dbdiff pane has always been there. So that's typically used to highlight two databases or snapshots. We'll talk more about snapshots in a minute. If I compare those two databases and follow this dialog through, we've always had this feature to compare the schemas of two databases. Lots of options on the screen there in terms of which attribute differences we care about. So perhaps we want to know we've got the same indexes and constraints but don't particularly mind if they call something different. When you do the comparison, it gives you a GUI to navigate the differences per object, and we can drill into one of them. So for example, the stock table is different in Stores 7 in that it's got integrity constraints, whereas the original didn't. It only had indexes. Yeah. We can then generate a sync script. Again, being specific, I can say, well, actually I just want to look at stock. And we can say which way around we want to synchronize, and that's generated statements to make one of them resemble the other. Now that feature's always been there. What you couldn't do previously was schedule that to happen automatically to get regular reporting of changes in schema. So that's under Sentinel, which is where anything automated lives. Here we have schema audit jobs, which is the new feature. So there are two types of audit job. One is just to save a snapshot of the schema. It does that in a repository living within the Java app where Sentinel is located. Okay, so let's call this demo snapshot. On stores demo. While we're at it, let's save the onConfig. Let's have it run daily at midnight. If that failed for whatever reason, send me an email. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to run that just to get a snapshot. Now let's create a audit job which will compare the schema on a regular basis with a baseline. That baseline, let's use the snapshot I just saved. That is the latest one. Comparing that against the actual database. All the same options we saw before in the dbdiff feature. On completion, I want to be emailed the results only when change has been found, and attach the reports. To my email address. And we're going to do that at 1 o'clock. Okay, and we can set what to do if the job either completes normally or fails. So I'm going to run that audit job right now. We can see that found no changes. I'm going to make a change to the schema. Just creates a duplicate of the stock table. I'm then going to run the audit job again. This time it has found changes. The way I'd set the job up, that will have emailed me the differences, but I can bring them up here in Server Studio. Primarily it's got the create table statement, but of course it's got the privileges to user public that were implied by that statement as well. Yeah, we can then export or make further changes to that SQL, and as with the dbdiff, we can generate an HTML report with the saved diff report.